cats and kittens, and thanks for tuning in to another episode of The MonkeyBoy Presents the DC Comics Superhero Collection by Eaglemoss, and today I'm very happy to bring you issue number 64, The Question. And this is another one of my personal favorites. He's an absolutely fascinating character, one of the greatest detectives in the world in the DC Universe, rivaling even Batman. Some would argue he's even better than Batman. And if you know this guy at all, you probably know him from the old Justice League animated series and Justice League Unlimited, where he was featured in a few episodes, and he was voiced by the amazing character actor, one of my all-time favorites, a man named Jeffrey Combs, who was made most famous, I think, in the Reanimator horror film franchise. He was also featured in a great film called The Frighteners that was directed by Peter Jackson. He was also on episodes of Star Trek Deep Space Nine as a character known as Wayoon, and currently he portrays Ratchet on the new Transformers Prime animated series, which is also fantastic. And he's absolutely great. He was a perfect choice to portray this character, and I'm really happy that Eaglemoss and DC decided to produce this figurine. Really looking forward to taking you through the magazine first, of course, which will cover everything we need to know about The Question, also known as Vic Sage, reporter by day and detective and crime fighter by night. And then we'll take a look at the figure itself, covering the good, the bad, and the ugly. One of my favorites, a nice statue, really nice statue. Can't wait to show it to you. Please sit back, relax, and enjoy issue number 64 of the DC Comics Superhero Collection by Eaglemoss, The Question. First up, the character section. It's here that we meet Charles Victor Zsasz, who was abandoned as a baby on the doorstep of a Catholic church in a town called Hub City. Life in the church's orphanage wasn't easy for Vic. He was abused not only by the staff, but also by the other children that lived there. Vic went on to become one of the most hard-hitting investigative reporters on cable television, and it was during one of his reports that he met a Dr. Aristotle Roeder. Dr. Roeder had invented a new type of artificial skin known as pseudoderm, which could be bonded to human flesh using a gaseous adhesive. We learn that one of Vic's political rivals in Hub City hired the world-renowned assassin Lady Shiva to take out The Question, without knowing that The Question and Vic Sage were one and the same. Feeling Vic was too worthy an opponent to let die, Lady Shiva saved him from a watery grave and delivered him to a man known as Richard Dragon. We also learn of a time when The Question went to the aid of a former girlfriend who had been blackmailed into marrying the corrupt mayor of Hub City. We also learn of a time when a gang war erupted in Hub City, leaving The Question as its only protector, and Lady Shiva actually put off her rematch with him to help him clean up the city. We learn that for a time, Vic actually operated out of Gotham City, teaming up with Batman on occasion. He also rescued the Huntress once upon a time and became a close friend and ally of hers. He also helped avert the Infinite Crisis when he teamed up with Batman, Wonder Woman, and Superman. Finally, we learn that Vic became friends with former Gotham PD detective Renee Montoya and decided to recruit her to become the new Question. Next, we look at a couple of the Question's classic stories. First up, we have 52. This 52-issue maxi-series chronicled a year in the DC Universe where they went without Batman, Superman, or Wonder Woman, and it focused on a lot of the more secondary characters, including the Question. Vic Sage learns that he's dying of cancer and decides he needs to find a replacement to carry on as the Question, and picks Renee Montoya, a former Gotham City police detective. And it's their story, basically, him teaching her sort of teaching him a little bit, and ultimately Renee rising to the occasion and becoming the new Question in the DC Universe. We also have The Question, Zen and Violence. And this story is written by the legendary Dennis O'Neil, and he does to this character what he did to the Green Arrow. He made him relevant. He brought him in to the 20th century and rediscovered his origins, retold them a little bit, and brought him into a more modern age, and also helped to humanize the character of Vic Sage a little bit. It's one of the greatest stories ever told. If you know nothing about The Question and you really want to get to know this character, this is the story to read. I highly recommend it, I own it, and I'm a huge, huge fan. Next, we look at some of The Question's friends and foes, including fellow heroes Batman and the Huntress, as well as his replacement, Renee Montoya. And finally, the iconography section looks at The Question's chemicals and weaponry a little bit more closely. We learn more about the chemicals that Dr. Roeder used in order to create not only the binary chemical compound that activates the pseudoderm, but the pseudoderm skin itself. We learn more about Victor's belt that contains not only his mask, but also the chemical compound that activates it. Vic and Dr. Roeder also learned how to use the chemicals to leave secret messages. Finally, we learn that while Vic, as the Question, preferred hand-to-hand combat, Renee Montoya prefers using her service revolver or her new energy blaster. And here we have The Question, Vic Sage, and I am a huge fan of this character, from the comic books, from the animated series. I'm a big Jeffrey Combs fan. I love everything about it, and that includes this figure. I think it's a great representation of The Question. Love the costume. It's out of the Denny O'Neil run on the series when he was writing that. Forgive me, I can't remember the artists. And it's just perfect. It's that light blue suit with the yellow shirt, that canary yellow, and the dark tie. You can see they even have the cuffs of the shirt here on the end of the sleeves showing through underneath the trench coat and everything. Love the black gloves and the glossiness of them. The tie is really great. I love how it's just this nice contrast of colors. It's really sharp. Love the hat, love the trench. You can see there's all sorts of details on the trench. There's great shading to show all of the different folds and tucks. You can see the detail in the collar with the lining there. Really nice touches all the way around, and the hat is also really cool. Not to mention his face, which of course he doesn't really have a face. There you can see all that nice shading on the back. Really fantastic. It's a great wash to show every little detail. And there is that faceless face. Really nice, but just with hints of detail. You can see, just sort of where the eyes sort of cave in a little bit and around his mouth, but he's just sort of featureless. It's really fantastically done. All the way down to the shoes with, again, the great pants. Love the detail, and those glossy black shoes I think are really awesome. It's just a fun character, and I think he's really nice. Talk a little bit more about him in just a moment. The question stands atop the classic DC logo, and the underside of his base features his name and serial number. And so you get a sense of size and scale. Here he is next to the Batman. And another quick shot with friend and ally, Huntress. The Question, I think, is another really fantastic figure in the series. Another, I think, rather obscure character, which I always enjoy having. And he's another really nicely designed figure. He breaks it up a little bit, especially with the color palette on this guy. Let's start with the good, of course. Pretty much everything on this guy. Really clean paint job, love the color palette, love the pose. I think it's really dynamic. The sculpt is great. I like almost everything on this guy, to be totally honest, down to the shoes, which have a nice glossy black to them. He looks like he shines them, keeps them clean. Love that powder blue of the suit. It's perfect. It looks just like the Denny O'Neil run on the series, with that deeper blue trench coat that has this great wash on it that shows all the contours, all the folds and ripples in that sculpt. And it sort of makes the trench look a little dirty, too. Like it's got some grittiness to it, some grime. He's out there fighting crime, Love that clenched fist and the way he's sort of maybe wagging it at you. Again, great wrinkling and ridges through there, the buttons on that sleeve, and the suit jacket underneath the trench coat. Again, that nice powder blue. You can see just a hint of the collar there. The trench coat itself on the front, great collar, great detail on that collar. The canary yellow shirt is fantastic. Love that, and then that dark black tie just makes it pop. Perfect touch. The hat is also nice, has a nice kind of gritty shading to it as well, just like the trench coat with that black band. Looks perfect, just like his hat should. And then the facial sculpt is perfect. There's really no facial detail to it. It's very subtle, as it should be, with the exception, of course, of his ears, which are really well done. And then you can just see sort of, hints of a cheekbone, of a jawline, the nose, but totally featureless. A little bit of some caving in where the eyes and the mouth are, but it's perfect, I think. It looks absolutely stunning as Vic Sage. The bad. Minor bleeding here and there, really, that's about it. I don't have a whole lot of complaints with this guy. I think for the most part, it's pretty much perfect for the question. Finally, the ugly. Really nothing on this guy. He is a solid figure. There's nothing really breakable or fragile about him, to be totally honest with you. Overall, I really like this guy a lot. I highly recommend him. He's obscure, yes, but he is a fascinating character. Definitely one worth looking into, and he breaks up the monotony of the collection. He's not another one of the costumed heroes, like Batman, although he does look great next to Batman on the shelf. Love the facelessness of him, love that trench coat, that suit look. I just think he's really cool, but like I said before, I tend to gravitate towards the more obscure guys. And if you like the Renee Montoya version of the question more than this one, she is also now available through the Eaglemoss DC chess set collection of figures. So you actually have your choice now if you want the Vic Sage or the Renee Montoya, or both. You can actually make that happen, which I think is pretty cool. And yeah, overall, highly recommend it. Really, really like it. Think it looks great on the shelf, and I hope you guys have enjoyed this review of the question. Please stay tuned for a quick teaser trailer of the next figure in the line. It's a villain again, ladies and gentlemen, a wonderful villain, one I've been dying to get to, one of Superman's greatest foes ever, and another I'm surprised it took him this long to get to. Can't wait to bring that to you. Stay tuned. As always, I am your host, the Monkey Boy, aka Jay to his friends. Thanks for watching.